Welcome to the Freediving lectures, designed for anyone who wants to improve their freediving in a calm and structured way. In today's video, we're going to cover the kick in no fins freediving. As in every video, we will go into great detail and cover everything step by step. Hi, I'm Stefano Scaramuzza, freediving and swimming coach. Together with my wife, Bianca Sanyang, we founded the freediving and yoga school Infinite Love. As a former competitive breaststroke swimmer and Swiss national record holder in constant weight no fins, I've specialized in teaching people how to freedive without fins. In these lectures, I share my professional insights into freediving, covering technique, mindset, and training. The lectures are free and open to anyone. The material is based on my experience in freediving, swimming, and teaching, and it reflects the current knowledge of those two sports. You can use these videos as a reference for your own training, for teaching, or simply to satisfy your curiosity. But remember that this is just a video and it cannot replace a coach. Only a trained coach can see what you need exactly in this moment to progress safely and efficiently. This depends also, of course, on your goals, your experience, and your fitness level. In the end of the video, I will talk more about coaching opportunities for you. This is the fourth video of the No Fins Technique Breakdown series, where we talk only about the technique in no fins freediving. In the previous video, we introduced the 4 pillars of the no fins technique. That is, number 1, the body position, number 2, the arm stroke, number 3, the leg kick, and number 4, the timing or coordination. We already saw a video about the body position and the arm stroke, and today we're going to talk about the kick. I will first explain to you how to do it properly, and then I will show you the most common corrections that I give to freedivers that I work with. Then in the end, I will show you some in-water and dryland exercises that you can do yourself to improve the no fins kick. Alright, to move forward in no fins, we use our hands, arms, legs and feet. The movement that we do with our legs and feet is called the leg kick, or simply the kick. As I mentioned already in the previous video, when it comes to the technique in no fins freediving, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can actually borrow the knowledge from competitive swimming, which nowadays is quite well developed. Specifically for the kick, we can borrow almost one-to-one what swimmers do, with some small adjustments that I will mention later. Bear in mind that the propulsion that we get from the kick is almost the same as what we get from the arm stroke, so both of them are equally important. In breaststroke swimming, actually, the kick is even the main driving force. So let's dive into the technical details of the kick. We start from the glide position with arms down. You can check out the video on the body position where we talk more about this position. So we are in the glide position with arms down, legs straight, feet pointy and touching. Then we start with the recovery, where we bend our knees and ankles at the same time as much as possible. So again, bend the ankle and the knee at the same time, all the way. I'm showing you again from the side. Bend the ankle and knee as much as you can. Here, try to keep the leg covered as much as possible from your body. So don't have it too much in the front or too much in the back, but nicely in the middle. You can go slightly back, that's okay, but don't go too much forward or even start crunching your body. During the recovery, try to keep the knees rather close together or hip wide apart and try to avoid to open them up too much. In the end, shortly before the kick, they will open up a little bit. That's okay. I will talk about this more later. Once your legs are up here, do an internal hip rotation, external knee rotation, and turn your feet out, the toes pointing to the side as much as possible. Or, to use more technical terms, the feet do a dorsiflexion, eversion and external rotation at the same time. So you see how important ankle flexibility is. From here, we want now to push down the water with our legs. Think that we want to use this area here to push down the water. So the inside of the leg and the inside of the feet. And with this area, we will push down the water. So the same as in the arm stroke, where we use a combination of hand and forearm, here we use a combination of feet and lower leg to push down the water. So we push down the water, and the main boost you get here in the middle part of the kick. While we push down the water, the feet will come together in a half circle motion. So if you look at my feet, they form like a half circle shape until they meet again in the end. For the last part of the kick, think that you're using the bottom of your feet to squeeze the water in the in-sweep and give it that last little push. And finally, give it a last push by extending the ankles, so by doing a plantar flexion, which automatically puts you back in streamlined position. So that's the whole movement. I will repeat again. First, we start in glide position with arms down. Then we bend ankle and knee at the same time. Bring the heels as close to our hips as possible. Then open up the wings, feet to the side, point with the toes as far out to the side as possible, while still keeping the knees close together. Then push the water down with your shins and feet, go into that half circular motion, and in the end point the feet and come back into glide position with arms down. For beginners, it can help to think to draw a circle with your feet behind your back. So if I make the motion very simple, you can see that my feet are basically drawing a circle behind my back. The kick works the most efficient when it's done rather quick and snappy. Generally, the whole movement shouldn't be too slow, because this position here, when the legs are up, causes a lot of drag and you don't want to stay here for too long. We will talk about timing more in the 4th video of this series, where it's all about timing and coordination. So instead of doing a slow movement, try to recover and kick quickly. And finally, as I mentioned before, you should keep your knees rather close throughout the whole kick cycle. So you don't need to exaggerate this motion. The knees don't have to touch all the time throughout the kick. So a little bit apart is okay, hip wide or even a bit more. But what you always have to keep attention is the relation between knee and ankle. So during the kick, the ankle has always to be further out than the knee. So the more flexible you are, the more it can tolerate that your knees are further apart. But no matter how flexible you are, you should always pay attention that you're pushing the water with this area here, like I showed you before. This brings me to the next part of the video, where I share the most common corrections that I give to freedivers that I work with. So let's stay on the knee topic. Often I see that people have the knees further out than the ankle. So you get this triangular shape here. You should avoid this because you lose the effect of giving power with this area here, like the shin and the feet. And then it's more like a kick in the void that gives you no effect, and your feet end up far out here, and you have to bring them together again without much effect. I will repeat again. Try to keep the knees always as close together as possible. However, a little bit of opening comes natural before the kick. So it's more important to understand the knee position relative to the ankles, so that the feet or ankles are further out than the knees. The more flexible you are, the more you can open up. I will show you some exercises in the end on how you can work on that. Another correction I give often is to bend the knee more, so to bring the heels as close to the glutes as possible. So don't just stop here, but try to go as far up as you can. But when doing that, try to avoid this crunching, so to bring the knees too much to the front. Always think of pushing the hip forward, and this will also help you to keep your orientation in the water. What I also see enough is that people don't bend the ankles enough or don't rotate them enough outside. Sometimes beginners even push the water with the dorsal side of the feet. So always be aware of what your feet are doing. People also often forget the last in sweep here in the end of the kick and to keep then the feet pointy in the end. So when you do your kick, don't just stop here and relax, but keep pushing, 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 pushing until your feet are pointy and you're back in a streamlined position. Another thing I often point out is a too slow recovery or too slow kick in general. So basically the timing of the kick. As I said before, try to do it quick and snappy and don't wait too long time with your knees bent. In conventional breaststroke swimming, this is exaggerated because it's all about power and speed. And in freediving, we can be a bit more relaxed. But still, don't waste time during the recovery. Rather glide longer before and after the kick if you want to save energy. Sometimes people involuntarily do a not symmetric kick, also sometimes called scissor kick, so that one leg does one thing and the other leg does another thing. This can happen especially for people that are new to freediving and swimming. I will show you in the end some exercises on how you can fix that. Before I show you some exercises that you can do to improve your kick, I would like to point out that there is no one size fits all when it comes to the no-fins technique. Everybody's physique and diving style is different and therefore might need some adaptations in the technique. But before you make any modifications in your dive style, you need to learn the textbook technique so that you actually know what you're doing and you're building on a solid foundation. My job as a coach is then to develop a technique that fits your body and your diving style best. This brings me to the next point that I want to add, which is that no video can replace an in-person coach. These videos are simply reminders and just meant to be educational. To successfully improve, you need an expert view on your dive style and a personal feedback on what you need and how you can achieve it efficiently. And all that in a way that matches your experience and your goals. In the end of the video, I will talk more about coaching opportunities for you. As I mentioned in the first video of this series, the best and most efficient practice to improve your no-fins technique, endurance and the feel of the water is to spend as much time as possible swimming. Because remember, no-fins freediving is basically swimming underwater. By surface swimming, you can spend hours and hours swimming and working on your technique and feel of water. While on breath hold, you're much more limited. Also, I want to point out again the importance of the feel of the water. I can tell you the textbook technique as I did in the first part of the video, but when it comes to the subtle details, for example, if your arm should be here or 1 centimeter more on that side or 1 centimeter more on that side, those subtle things you have to feel yourself. That's the famous feel of the water that only comes by spending a lot of time in the water. Alright, I will show you now some exercises on how you can work on that. For the surface swimming exercises, use a snorkel and wear no wetsuit so you can feel the water well. In the first exercises, we simply do kicks while keeping the rest of the body streamlined and holding a kickboard to make it easier. Keep the head in the water and do simple kicks. Start slow and with time you can increase intensity. Always glide a little bit after every kick. In these exercises, we do the same thing as before, but we don't use a kickboard. Keep the head in the water and the arms in streamlined position like you learned in the previous video. Kicking like this is a little bit more difficult than with a kickboard, but it's a good way to practice your balance and body position in the water. Here we repeat the previous exercises but lying on the back. This is again a good exercise for body position and balance in the water. Try not to splash too much with the knees by keeping the kick underwater as much as possible. Don't let the hips sink too much, but keep pushing them up towards the sky. You can pull your chin slightly down so you can see the end of the pool for orientation. Here we are again on the back, but this time we keep our arms straight along our body. Try to touch the heels with your fingers every time the feet comes up for recovery. This exercise is good to practice bending the knees enough, which maximizes your kick efficiency. Also here it's important to not let the hips sink too much, but to keep pushing them up constantly. In this exercise we are again facing down, but we keep a pull buoy or float between our legs and we try not to lose it while doing the kicks. It feels a bit awkward at first, but you'll be surprised how good it works. This exercise helps to practice the internal hip rotation and the flexibility of the feet. It forces you to really bend and rotate the legs and feet to the maximum to make it work. It also gives you an understanding of the kick mechanics and what it means to keep the knees close together. For the Dryland exercises, everything that works on your leg strength and mobility of the hips, knees and ankles is beneficial. Since there is enough material online on how to achieve that, I'm only going to point out just a few exercises. They are specific to no fins diving and you can do them by yourself at home without any equipment. The easiest way to practice your kick is simply by sitting on a chair. Sit as much in the front as you can, lean back and hold with your hands the side of the chair. Then straighten the legs in front of you and simply go through the kick movement like I explained you before. This exercise is particularly good because you can actually see what you're doing. For people that struggle with an asymmetric kick, so people that do, for example, something like that, I recommend to do this exercise very slowly and really look and try to make the movement as symmetric as possible. And then make as many repetitions as possible. And once you move to the water, also there, start as slow as possible. But this one is good because you really see what you are doing and you can correct in real time. If you want to practice the hip rotation and keeping your knees close and stable, you can do the movement while lying on your belly. This will automatically force to keep your knees close and you can focus on the movement of the legs and feet. As you know by now, ankle flexibility is very important. One way to practice that is to sit on the floor with a straight back, tighten all the muscles in your legs, keep the feet pointy, strong as you can, then pull the toes and feet towards you as much as you can, still while keeping all the legs muscle engaged. Then draw a big circle, so move out as much as you can, draw a big circle and meet again in front. Do this exercise very slow, very conscious, and really try to find the limit of your range. A good mobility exercise for your ankles is also to first stand with the feet together and legs straight. Then first balance on the tip of your toes. Bring the heels up as high as possible. And then bring your toes up and balance on the heels and come back. And you can repeat this a couple of times. A good exercise for your hip rotation or hip mobility, or it can also be used as a warm-up, is to bend your knee 90 degrees to the back, keep your feet relaxed, and then go in and out like this. Keep everything as relaxed as possible and only feel the rotation happening inside your hip. I show you the same from the front. So bend your knee, relax your body, and then move to the side and in. To stretch the front of your thighs and strengthen the back of your thighs, we can do a hip bridge. Place the feet close to your glutes and then lift the hip as far up as possible. You can strengthen your thighs by leaning back kneeling, so place your knees hip wide apart and keep the legs parallel. Place the arms on your chest and then slowly lean back as far as you can and come back to neutral position. And you can do repetitions like this. To work on your hip flexibility, you can sit in the 90-90 position. So we have 90 degrees between these two parts, 90 degrees between these two parts, and 90 degrees between these two parts. And then from this position, try to make an internal rotation of the hip and lift your foot like this. You can make this exercise more difficult the more straight you keep your spine. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in personal coaching, you can reach us through the Infinite Love website. We offer in-person and online coaching. Together, we will work on a training program that fits exactly your goals and needs, no matter if you're new to the sport or already diving deep. Alright, take care and see you in the next video.